from 2008 to 2021, there have been 25 movies in the MCU. And throughout those 25 films and stories, we've seen a lot of different villains. Some good, some bad, some memorable, and some, well, just...
Hey!
Bloody hell, bloody hell.
Don't move.
I'm not moving. You want something? Take it. Although the guns are all fake, because those wankers wouldn't trust me with the real ones.
What?
Hey, do you fancy either of the birds?
Yeah, well, Shang-Chi gave us the Mandarin, one of the best characters and villains in the MCU. Marvel casted Tony Leung for the role, and Tony Leung is a legend in 80s and 90s Hong Kong cinema. He really is. This was a perfect choice. I can't imagine a better person for the role. The Mandarin works for the same reason the Vulture worked in Spider-Man Homecoming, the same reason Killmonger worked in Black Panther, and the same reason Thanos worked in the overall Infinity Saga. All three of these guys have something in common, and it's not their antagonistic behavior, it's their heart. While they were obviously bad and had to be stopped, they all had a conviction about them. Their motives were understandable and their feelings relatable. The Mandarin was all of these things. Just the way he presented himself was so sincere with his eyes and facial expressions. Everyone knows this dude is a villain. So it was a very smart move to explore his heart. Why he is the way he is, the things he sacrificed to get where he is, his passions, his regrets, it's all relatable. And what I enjoyed most about Shang-Chi was that in this story, the villain is every bit as essential to the story as the hero was. In most MCU movies and superhero origin stories, period, usually the focus is the hero. The villain is an afterthought, usually a climax in the movie that, pushes the story along. But in Shang-Chi, it wasn't like that. The villain was just as every bit as important as the hero was. And adding that father-son relationship makes the Mandarin every bit as essential as Shang-Chi. In many ways, Shang-Chi is the way he is because of his father. And that's like most men in real life. And I think Wenwu's arc in this movie is even more resonant than anyone else's in this entire story, even Shang-Chi's. Because at his core, this isn't a character who is driven by hate. The Mandarin is driven by love. This is a man who started out as an ironmonger. He sought power and he gained power, ultimate power. He was unchallenged. He was the Mandarin. But he gave it all up for the woman that he loved and cared about. And it was that love that he had for his wife that got her killed. And because of her murder, because he wasn't around to protect her, all that rage, all that anger, all that vengeance flared up inside of him. And it's like Doctor Strange in the 4th episode of What If. It's like Wanda Maximoff in WandaVision. He became like them in the sense that when there's a chance that his love can be brought back, he's willing to do anything to get her back, even destroy the world. Love can do more than just shatter your heart. It can shatter your mind, and I think that's what happened with him. There's no better antagonist than the ones whose journey you can empathize with, and although Wenwu's actions are often reprehensible, you can always understand his motivations. One of the best scenes that showcases Wenwu's scarred heart is when he's sitting with his kids at dinner telling them about what he really does for a living. The scene is really important because it really captures the strained relationship he has with his son and his daughter, and just how broken he's become since his wife has died. Never taking the 10 rings off since she's passed, training his son vigorously to be the ultimate assassin, neglecting his daughter completely because when he looks at her, she reminds him of his wife, his failure, his guilt, his pain. There's a clinical term for that kind of behavior, and it's called toxic guilt. And this form of guilt comes from the feeling of not being good enough or feeling like a failure, and pushing that guilt that you have inside, pushing it out onto others, oftentimes loved ones. And that's exactly what he does with his son in this film. But the best thing was his redemption. After all the pain, the guilt, the dark path he lived on, he sacrificed himself for his son. And that's a true arc. He was able to let go, finally. And that's the difference between this particular villain and all the other villains across the MCU. This one had the best redemption arc. He redeemed himself by the end. I genuinely felt sad for him when he died. I didn't want him to die, you know? Because like, wow, he finally understood, he finally let go, and all the, you know, as he's dying, he thinks about all the times when he was with his son. It was a touching moment, you know? At its core, Shang-Chi is a film about family and legacy. And Tony Leung is the movie's secret weapon. He absolutely redefined the Mandarin. I thought he was outstanding. He was threatening, very threatening. You know, he commanded armies, he had power. He was kind of like a watered down version of Thanos in a lot of ways. This dude is my second favorite villain in the MCU. He wasn't a bad guy at the end of the day. When you understand him at his core, he was simply broken. A broken guy. Shang-Chi definitely opened a new door in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's different than anything else we've seen over the past 10 years. I thought they saved all the best stuff for Avengers Endgame, but after Shang-Chi, I see that Avengers Endgame was a tiny little piece of the stuff that Marvel just has up their sleeve. It's a tiny piece. They got a mountain full of this stuff. Guys, let me know down below what you thought of the Mandarin. And let me know what you thought of Shang-Chi. Did you like this movie? Did you hate it? Do you understand the character of the Mandarin a little bit more? What do you think of Tony Leung? Let me know all this stuff down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.